How's it going, everybody? So today I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the new album from Oknos. The name of this album is From Ashes. And before I get into that nitty gritty, y'all know it. Let's take a look at that cover. So, there is uh, classy. Classy. If I had to describe this cover in one word, classy. I mean, just look at that. I just love I love the blue of the background. It's just this really nice, like almost like a noble blue looking thing. And then the way they have their name of the band, Oak Nose, the way that that's like kind of Greek, styled and all that, and From Ashes. And then you just have this beautiful phoenix, sitting there, just, and that's it. And that's it. You don't need much, sometimes minimalism is all you need. This is very minimalistic, but it's just classy. I love it. You look at it and it looks important. Like it looks very regal looking. So it's like, oh, you look at that album, look at this. This is some classy folks here. I mean, this just looks uh, just really, really nice. So I dig it. I really dig this cover. Again, it's very simple, but just the colors chosen, the design, of like the lettering for the band name and the album, and just that phoenix there, the way it just looks so clean, just so nice. Now, as far as, I like to discuss if, say you're at the CD shop flipping through some albums and you see that cover, and obviously you're going to be like, ooh, that looks sharp. Um, does the cover convey what you can expect on the album music wise? Um, you know, I feel like this could go many different ways. It's a little too, I guess, from that side of things, a little too um, minimalistic to really fully convey what type of music, or if you've never heard of Oak Nose before and you see this cover, I feel like it could go many different ways. So I don't really think the cover conveys, to you what to expect. Like if you're looking at it, you think the cover looks sick, but you're sitting there trying to figure out, I'm not sure what kind of music this is though. I feel like it could be anything, honestly, from like death metal to metalcore to the power metal to symphonic metal, which is what it is. I just feel like it could go many different routes. So yeah, so from that side of things, yeah, it doesn't really show you, but just from the cover itself, though, I just love it. I just love it. So it still just gets praise from me because it just looks so clean and classy. I dig it. But it's not like it's misleading or anything, because once you hear the album, it's not like you'll look at the cover and be like, oh, this is nothing like. No, I mean, it suits it. You just wouldn't know based off the cover alone. Anywho, I've talked enough about this cover, but just look at it. Oh, it just looks so nice. Anywho, now this bad boy, and I'm telling you, it's a bad boy. It's got 16 tracks on here and comes in at about an hour and 5 minutes. Woo, Lord, that's one packed album. But I'm gonna tell you right now, it is packed full of goodness. Packed full of goodness. I was a little intimidated when I first, brought this up, and I was going to give this album a listen. I was like, ooh, 16 songs, an hour and 5 minutes, because, for me, the sweet spot's about around like 50 minutes or so, 10, 11 tracks, something like that. But, it all just depends on how it's handled. Of course, you can have longer albums that are incredible all the way through, like the Vivaldi Metal Project with Epic Classica. That's a hefty boy. There, like two sides, two discs. But oh man, it's amazing. But or you can have shorter albums that are also. It just all just depends, But I found sometimes the longer albums they can drag at times. This one, it does not. I can tell you safely, it does not drag. So, uh, don't be intimidated by the length. And one thing I was crazy is, I had seen the band that was talking about they were coming out with a new album soon, and then they announced like a week before the release, oh, we can finally announce the release date. It's next week, and I was like, wow, okay. So, but they've been working on this bad boy for a while, and it shows. Anywho, about the music itself, this is some incredible symphonic metal, and with some nice folk elements in there, without a doubt. The amount of instruments utilized to create the symphonic sounds here in this album, just it just no limit. I mean, they just use everything that they have and just create such rich and full symphonic sounds, and just really helps propel the songs forward. And I mean, they use it liberally. This is just full of symphonic elements. It's not like, oh, you get a little bit here and there, and it's like mainly guitar and all that. No, I mean, it's really driven by the symphonic elements, in my opinion. The guitar is a close second. It is utilized quite a bit with, some chunky riffs, rhythmic. Typically, the guitar is more on the rhythmic side, but you also do get some great moments where the guitar kind of shines and does little solos and stuff like that. But for the most part, in my opinion, the guitar is really there to provide this rhythm, and the symphonic elements is to create the fullness of the sound, and to really give the songs their character, their persona. And you would not be disappointed with the symphonic elements. I'm telling you, folks, you get string, you get a lot of like tin whistle type of deal. Oh man, I love me some of that, like tin whistle. There's one song I'll mention later. There's another little instrument that pops up later on in the album that just was lovely. I'll mention that. I mean, you get some brass. Yeah, I mean, you get choirs. It just really is just full of just incredible symphonic elements, with also a little bit of some folk vibe in there. Again, a lot due to the tin whistle inclusion in there, and just the nature of the structure of some of the songs. It's got a little bit of a folky vibe to it. And but yeah, I mean, you can't beat the symphonic elements in this album. I was just floored, and from start to finish, track 1 to track 16, nothing feels like a waste of space. Every song has its own identity, but it is part of this, story, or this tapestry, if you will, that each one is an integral part of this tale of this album. And every single song, there's not one song on here that I was like, you could have cut that song. Personally, I thought everything belonged, and everything contributed to the album. And I feel like I'm just kind of really gushing about the album here, folks, but this really, really took me by surprise, because, I only recently heard of the band Oknos. I did a reaction or two. I can't remember if I did a reaction to Rotten to the Core or not, but I did do a reaction to one of the songs on here, Coming Home. I remember that one for sure. But so yeah, I was relatively new to the band, and then they released this album, and this is some of the finest symphonic metal I've heard this year. I'm not kidding. It's up there with the best of the like female fronted symphonic metal that has released this year. Again, I ain't kidding you here, folks. This album can go toe to toe with some of the big dogs, like Visions of Atlantis and stuff like that. Again, I'm not kidding. It's that good of a quality, and there's something here for everybody too. There's some of the symphonic, some songs that remind me of kind of the early to mid 2000s symphonic metal style. There's some songs on here that have a little bit more of that metalite kind of vibe with a little bit of electronic elements. Not too much, but there are some with some of those electronic elements, and then you have some that are more on the folky side with the tin whistle. It just really is something to be heard. Again, the arrangements, the orchestrations, the composing of this thing, just top notch, top notch. Vocals, uh, predominantly female vocals, incredible. Does an amazing job. Got a lovely voice, a strong voice, but also a voice that isn't really in your face. A lot of the music is very bombastic, but it also has this quality of just like a magical, almost ethereal type of quality. Like taking you to uh, a different world, so to speak. And her voice fits along very much with that theme, where nothing feels like you're just being blasted. It all just has this enchanted quality to it, and her voice is just suits it very well. And then on occasion, you get some male vocals in there as well, and he does a great job. Also, it's always a treat when he pops up and does some vocals or even duets. Um, with the female vocals. And so, yeah, really, really nice dynamic there. And it's not overused, so that whenever he shows up, it's like, oh, cool. You kind of get excited. The guitar work, like I said, is just really, really strong, really kind of holds the foundation of the songs. And all of the instrumentation is just really fantastic. Bass, drums, all of that. It really, they each carry their own weight through the songs. And, again, they all kind of form this bedrock, this foundation. And then the symphonic elements is just like, the globe, just the world surrounding it, the atmosphere, the signature like persona, the character, the magic, if you will. So really, really cool. I've talked quite a bit already, so I'll just briefly kind of mention some of these songs because there's 16 of them, so I definitely won't go through each one. But it starts out with track one with the song Confrontation. This is one of the best intro songs for an album I've heard in a long, long time. And I've heard some really great ones recently and in the past, but this one has to be up there. I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and say top five best intro songs I've ever heard in my life. I've heard a ton, and there are a ton that are really, really good. So, I'd have to really sit and think about it, but that's how good the intro is to this. Oh, if the track one doesn't get you hype for this album and stoked and anxious to hear it, I don't know what would. I do not know what would. I mean, it's just epic. It just epic. It's got like a choir feel, like a chanting, and it kind of builds up with the symphonic elements, and it just gets you pumped. It gets you so pumped. Like, as soon as I started this album, I heard this. I was like, oh, this is so. I was like, please, please let this album be good. Please roll into like good stuff, because I've heard some great intros, and it just kind of rolls into mediocrity. But that's not the case here. So it rolls right into track two, Haven of Tranquility, which is just full of bombast. Let you know right off the rip what you're getting into here on the whole album. And, it carries through from the intro and into this song. And it carries that torch very well. It's a great, great song. Then you got track three, Everything Affects Everything, which is really interesting because this one comes in a little bit differently and almost at times has like a not punk rock, but like a just an interesting kind of vibe. It got the male vocals in there heavily, and with like the tin whistle, and sometimes it really has sounds of like the Emerald Isle and all that stuff. It kind of has that vibe of that folkiness. I think again heavily because of the tin whistle, but also his voice. I had to look it up, and it looks like they're from Germany, but there's moments that sound, it's got like a little bit of like an Irish kind of flair to it. And even his vocals, almost sound like they got a little bit of a hint of Irish. I didn't look to see where he's from or whatnot, just that the band is considered, from Germany. But anywho, so you get some of that flair in there. Rotten to the Core kind of has a little bit of that electronic vibe in there somewhat. That was a single they released, and Coming Home, I did a reaction to that. Beautiful duet between the two vocalists. And track 6, Inner Voice, is probably my favorite track on the album. Just an epic, epic seafaring adventure symphonic, song that it just carries you away, and it's just epic. Like I said, when I was listening to this, I was like, this is up there, like with as good a song as Visions of Atlantis can throw out there, and that was an incredible album recently. But this also just it captures just this epic adventurous spirit and kind of a seafaring vibe. Oh, it's just so good. And it just continues with great stuff. Memories, track 9 is really awesome. It is like an instrumental track with some. It's beautiful with some acoustic guitar in there, and then you get some of the symphonic, elements, and it's kind of uplifting, and it just is great. It's just absolutely great. From Ashes, the title track you get on here is just a very like beautiful and also just uplifting ballad that kind of builds, and it just lifts your spirits, and again her voice really shines through here on this song. Just absolutely brilliant like ballad and title track here. And let's see, and then I also wanted to mention and so I told you that there's another instrument that is kind of thrown in here, and that happens in track 13, Waves. It's like a minute long. It kind of hear like some sound of some waves crashing like against like a boat and whatnot. And then all of a sudden this like accordion sound like kind of comes in there. Oh man, that's so sick. And the song rolls right into track 14, Loreley, and you get some more of that accordion thrown in there, and Loreley, that song is sick too. But yeah, and then the final track, 16, Power of Mind, is very much like a lullaby kind of sound. It starts out with almost like a music box lullaby sound, and even the vocal melody, very lullaby sounding. And then of course, about halfway through, you get like the tin whistle starts chiming in, and then the guitar hits, and it just gets so grandiose and epic, and just it does what every great final track does, and it just is the culmination of every song that came before it, all wrapped up into one song, and it's just epic. I can't praise this album enough. It just really blew me away. I'm just so taken aback. There's something here for everybody, symphonic metal wise, but even outside of that, I mean, I just feel like there's a lot here for folks. But if you're a symphonic metal fan, Lord have mercy, don't miss this. Do not let this album pass you by, because it will easily go into your rotation. It'll easily be something that you want to add to your collection. I'm not kidding. It's incredible. I can't wait to see what the band continues to do, because this just masterful. It's just masterful. It's magical, and it sweeps you away, and it's bombastic and epic and uplifting. Fantastic, just absolutely fantastic. I cannot praise it enough. That's how much it just really resonated with me. I just love what these folks here have done with this album. And y'all know, last but not least, I like to give you an idea of, if you're going to give the album one chance, you're like, Ranger, tell me one song to listen to for me to decide if I want to hear the whole thing or not. This was a tough one, because, again, there's such great variety here throughout the album where everything just stays fresh. But then it's also like, oh, what song would best represent everything aside from like the final track, because the final track deserves to be heard at the end of the album, not just on a whim. So I would go with the second track, Haven of Tranquility. I really think this gives you a great idea. You get some heavy guitar work going on in there, and some bombastic symphonic metal, and some of that tin whistle thrown in there for good measure as well. So I think this really gives you a great idea of what to expect. And if that song doesn't lure you in, then I don't know what would. I do not know what would. So if you like symphonic metal, just start the album. Simple as that. You might as well just listen to the first track and have it roll into the song that I suggest, Haven of Tranquility, and just go from there because you won't be disappointed. Anywho, that's what I got for you. You probably could have listened to the album, the amount of time that I've taken to give you my thoughts on it, but that's how much I just wanted to talk about it and let you all know to not miss it and to try to get you all excited, as excited as I am. I want you all to hear it as well. And let me know in the comments down below if you listen to this album, what you thought of it. I really want to hear from you all. Let's talk about it. And let's share the excitement over this sick album. And I'll let you all go now and hopefully listen to the album, or just do what you got to do. Anywho, thanks so much for tuning in. I'll catch you all next time. Ranger.